All right. We are now on to 7, and I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but this is me. And it's called The Enthusiast. And here are just some of those, what it's like to be a 7. I am an optimist to a fault. It can cause problems too. Anticipation is the best part of life, and it's not that I want to wish anything away, but I have been looking forward to a certain age for my children since the day they were born, or maybe even before that. So I don't know what the rest of my life is going to be once I get there. I'll have to come up with a new thing. Well, even younger, I thought ideally 23 is going to be the best year of my life. And then it came and it went, and that's it. But when I was a child, it was 23 for some reason. You know, I'm not that newbie who's 21, but I'm not, that's me all over.
Specific.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so eager for the future that I can hardly wait for it to get here. I think people worry more than they should, which is interesting because my favorite text in Scripture has always been Matthew 6, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. And that's been kind of the basis of my ministry. So yeah, it's always fun. So healthy 7s know that often less is more, which are also words I've said. They're aware
We hear them often.
I say them all the time.
We don't need to get fancy. It's fine.
Yeah, you hear me. You can reflect this back. They're aware of the energy that they have invested in manufacturing happiness, and they know that joy is a gift of grace that can only be received. They have embraced a full range of human emotion, and they are growing in their ability to accept life as it is rather than what they want it to be. They are able to incorporate pain and disappointment into the whole of their lives rather than just merely avoiding it. And when enthusiasts are in a healthy space, they are not only fun and adventurous, but also spiritually grounded, practical, and resilient. Average 7s reframe almost everything that is sad, limiting, or could be perceived as failure, changing the narrative so that even the most negative events are recast in an affirming way. Unhealthy 7s see themselves and their environment as inadequate, feeling sorry for themselves, and often believing they've been dealt an unfair hand. So 7s, the deadly sin of a 7 is gluttony. And it's not that overeaten gluttony type of thing. It's their compulsive need to devour positive experiences, stimulating ideas, and find material things in order to fend off suffering, hurtful memories, and feelings of chronic deprivation. 7s crave stimulation. Ask one how much is enough, and they'll say, just a little bit more. Which brings it then to the problems that some 7s have, and that is an ism of sorts, alcoholism, a habitual problem, gambling, things like that can be a piece of a 7's life, because how much is enough? Just a little bit more.
So I would imagine on vacation, you have to cram every minute of every day, right? Like you have to get as much, and not just with anything, but with as much fun and enjoyment as you can possibly pack in, correct?
Yes. However, I have tried to be healthier than that. And so on vacations, usually we get a day at home, a day of rest, and then we get a day of go. But if we're ever gonna swing to too much rest or too much go, it's always gonna be too much go. But up for an adventure, kind of the spontaneity of the adventure. It's hard to get your head around it, but 7s are every bit as fearful as 5 and 6s. Where they differ is in the way they defend themselves against it. 5s ward off fear with knowledge, 6s with pessimism, and 7s with inexhaustible optimisms. It's that leaving behind what it is that's sad or makes you fearful, and what else is out there. I don't know if this just came to me. I don't know if it has anything to do with this, but when I was a child, I would have one of those reoccurring dreams, and it was a scary reoccurring dream where there was this monster who was going to get me, and I tried to get myself always out of that dream by thinking, okay, I'll go to Christmas. So then I'm at the Christmas setting, which at that point in my life was my grandmother's house. And all of a sudden, the Christmas tree was always in front of the window, and out behind the window comes the monster man, and okay, I'll go to the lake. We got to go to the lake every year for a week, and then out of the end of the dock comes the monster person, but always looking for something to kind of to make it better.
Do 7s have, I would imagine, like a tendency towards escapism then? Like using that pursuit of excitement and adventure to like get away from things that are scary, to get away from fear?
Yeah, especially when you toss in the wing or toss in the stress.
Sure.
It definitely can. Because 7s seek to avoid pain. Again, we're thinkers, but we're driven by fear. It's just how to use that fear. Addiction is the word I was looking for earlier. 7s are vulnerable to addictions. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. Tom Robbins, who's an author, wrote, kind of thinking about, it fits very well with that 7, that playful side, because you're looking to bring happiness. Also the one who, when things tend to get stressed or a meeting is
Tense.
not boring but tense, they're the first ones to make some kind of joke trying to lighten the load.
Sure.
So 7s are living for that next adventure. The pleasure is in the waiting, not the actual event itself. It's the anticipation of the event. 7s as children, the wounding message could be something like, you're on your own, no one's here to support or take care of you. In response, 7 said, I'll do it if no one else will. So I was a trailing child, meaning I had 5 years in between my next sibling, and they were like 2 years apart. So I had a lot of playtime by myself. My mother went to work, I think when I was about 9. So after school was alone until the family would get home. And, the games I came up with by myself, we had a grand old time.
I love the intro to 7s as children in this book, because it says 7s often describe childhoods filled with tree swings, lazy summer afternoons spent fishing, winter days building snow forts, and going to sleepaway camp. And then it says, seriously, no one gets off that easy.
Yeah.
Right? So like this whole portrayal and image that I find fascinating, because you're finding the good in the midst of it. That's the piece that's being lifted to the surface.
Yeah. Regardless of the underlying factors, as kids, sevens adopt a strategy of going up into their head to plan adventures, entertain themselves, come up with captivating ideas, and imagine a life where sky's the limit to diffuse the scary emotions they fear will overwhelm them.
And that's kind of the opening quote from Peter Pan, right? Like, you just think happy thoughts,
Yep.
and everything will happen.
Yeah. However, it's interesting. So sevens do allow the gamut of emotion, and melancholy places are not bad. For me, they maybe just need to be at the right time. I need to be in the right mood to be there, but I can be there and be very happy being there. One of my favorite, this will date me a little bit, one of my favorite hangout spots when I was in that mood was, I grew up in a house with radiators, and down in our dining room, right in front of the radiator, my parents' record player was in that corner, and I could take the speakers down off the record player, put them on either side of my ears. Yes, they did have headphones, but this was my way of doing it. And 45s could go in a stack, and they would play one after the other, and I would just lay there with the sun shining in the big window next to the heater, with the music filling my senses, and just, that's where I would rest. It was like crowded behind the table type of thing, but if my parents were looking for me, they could find me there.
Wait, was that just your description of something melancholy?
Yeah, that's
Because I feel like that's
a place
a real
I could go for when I'm in
seven.
that mood.
Okay.
You're saying it has too much adventure?
I'm saying it's not melancholy. It's like, that was like a description, that was the perfect example of a seven, like optimism, right?
Yeah.
Like describing something that's like full of sunshine and music and warmth and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Very
It's like
good.
what we long to do on those summer days, right?
Yeah. So sevens with their wings, sevens with the sixth wing, these sevens are more settled than sevens typically are, fueled by their conscientiousness of the sixth. They give both projects and people more time before moving on to the next thing. Sevens can have trouble because it's all in the anticipation of starting things and not finishing them because they've moved on to something else. Sevens with an eight wing, the sevens are competitive, bold, and aggressive, reflecting the eight's characteristic bravado. They're persuasive and assertive in relations to their ideas and agendas. When they're stressed or when they're living in security, so a stress would be when they're under stress, sevens can adopt the unhealthy and perfectionistic behaviors of ones. When sevens feel secure, they can start to behave like healthy fives. Here they stop consuming and start contributing, are more comfortable with silence and solitude, and become more serious and begin to think about the meaning and purpose of their lives. The healing message for sevens, what they need to hear and believe is God will take care of you. Yeah, it's fun, and I hope folks enjoy reading about themselves, because again, we've said it over and over again. It's descriptive. It doesn't mean this little box is who you are, but man, it's so crazy when you can look at that box and you can go, yeah, I'm there, I'm there, I'm there. And sometimes there are things that, not there. But for the most part, when you find kind of your number, you're all over it.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun since we've started talking about this, because we've been doing this for a while in preparation for this, just to see how our numbers are shaping, like, oh yeah, like this totally makes sense in our interactions based on our numbers, or as we start to think about how we're relating to the people in our families based on our numbers. It's just a lot of fun to see those connecting pieces and what we can learn from them to be in better relationship.
I think another place where my sevenness comes out that you've probably all seen is if something's not working, I can spend hours on like technology if it's not working, because I always think that it's gonna work. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. And to have something, to have to walk away from something and not have it finished or working, that's stressful to me. So I'm better off putting in the extra time now than I am worrying about it when I'm not there.
I think another thing that we've seen is the cheering for the underdog. Like, you're not quick to give up, and it shares with that technology. Like, you just keep looking ahead to when this is resolved, and you do so with a positive attitude towards that resolution, which is good on someone who likes to check a box and make sure things get accomplished. To have that counterbalance sometimes.
Anything else about the enthusiasts that you want to say?
I don't think so. I'm just looking forward to this study. I just think
I
it's going to be really, really engaging and interesting and helpful in like every area of our lives. The more that we learn about ourselves, right? We're beings that God created. So the more that we learn about ourselves, I suspect, and the more we dig into our own authenticity, the more we get to learn a little bit about how God has worked God's miracle in creating us.
So we won't forget to thank you for joining us on this little journey. And the good thing about one of the reasons we wanted to do the videos was to allow folks to be a part of the class. Even if they miss a time, they can still be a part of the class, but yet also to be able to look back and say, now remind me about this number or this number. And so to be able to go back and kind of hear it.
Yeah, to see this is the start of our journey, not the end of our journey. We've got the introductions, and now there's places for us to continue to grow and build upon this time together.
Well said.